One last group of dinosaurs that I think would be particularly popular on the pet trade, and perhaps most surprisingly of all, are some of the most infamous theropods of all time, the raptors, aka the dromaeosaurids. Thankfully speaking, a lot more people nowadays recognize the velociraptor wasn't a 6 foot tall, scaly theme park monster, but instead was a much smaller, feathery, real life animal. However, that would not make it a good pet. Even though they might not have been as hyper intelligent as they're depicted in movies, dromaeosaurs probably still would have been quite intelligent dinosaurs, enough so that you would need an ungodly amount of enrichment and stimulation to keep their brains working healthily in a captive environment. We see this with primate and bird species nowadays. It can even be challenging for full blown zoos to sometimes keep up with the enrichment demands of these animals. But an even better comparison would be the likes of modern day birds of prey. There is no such thing as a part-time falconer. Falconers have to be some of the most well-researched and highly trained professionals in their trade to work with their animals. Birds of prey, even small ones, can not only do enormous damage to you in a bad situation, but they can do even more damage to themselves. And even the most meticulous and most well-trained falconers have accidents with these animals that either wind up in them getting injured or unfortunately losing a bird. And I imagine dromaeosaurs would be very similar. As easy as it would be to get yourself grievously harmed by one of these animals if you made a mistake, I think it would be far easier for the animal to do damage to itself in a captive environment if you did not do absolutely everything you were supposed to perfectly. And large birds of prey can be just as deadly as large mammals. Falconers who work with large raptors such as eagles have to be some of the most meticulous and most well-trained animal handlers on the planet to do so. There are so many hoops, so many years of training you have to go through just to even get close to this level. And you can guarantee if dromaeosaurs were still around today, that people would try to keep even the large ones, such as Utah raptors. Now, in a captive environment, a professional captive environment, maybe there are people that could actually look after these animals and do it successfully. And I think it should go without saying that the consequences of trying to take on the responsibility of looking after an animal, whether it's a dromaeosaur that's the size of a turkey or one that's the same weight as a grizzly bear, could be a lot more than you bargained for. And I can easily see animals such as dromaeosaurs being purchased in a modern day environment as something like a status symbol. There are a lot of people out there you can imagine that would love to tout that they own a raptor. But I can guarantee that the vast majority of people like that would not even be remotely qualified or even mentally capable of even keeping such an animal alive, let alone surviving such an animal.